about as awful of a start to a Premier League campaign as it could have gotten for Manchester United as they drop all 3 points and lose 2-0 to newly promoted Hull. I have taken a day to collect my thoughts, and it hasn't gotten any better, unfortunately. Just a really awful performance, and for somebody on the Pacific Coast, a 4:30 wake up to watch what was maybe the worst half of football I've watched United play in a long time, and ultimately just a awful start to a Premier League campaign that, my confidence and my hyped level for the season went from like 100 to 0 as quickly as humanly possible in only Manchester United fashion, as they've done this multiple times over the last 5 seasons, where I think only one time in the last 5 or 6 seasons we've won our opening match. So kind of par for the course in terms of what the history of United's last 5 seasons has been, but it doesn't make it all better. And in this one, I'm going to give you my 5 things that I learned watching the match and honestly taking a day to kind of take it all in, which we can start with lesson number 1, which is Dorgu in these matches is just not good enough. From a technical standpoint, Patrick Dorgu's game doesn't suit these styles of games, and while it may seem on the appearance of things with him being a better athlete that he would be better in these situations and better in these sorts of games, it couldn't be farther from the truth. Unfortunately, Patrick Dorgu is not a polished enough player in terms of his actual on-ball ability for him to be played in the way that he is in these certain styles and these certain matchups. In particular, going up against 5 backs and 3 backs, he doesn't really suit the left winger position, in my opinion. He's not good enough in the inner pockets when it needs to be the quick 1-2s or the ball's at his feet and then he's making a move and he's getting off a shot. He's just not polished enough in those situations. And the games where he really strives are like the ones that we saw him play against Arsenal in this left wing back position, where he can drop back, be an extra man in defense, but when he's getting forward, it's because of his physical traits that are allowing him to be a better player in terms of just the speed and getting in behind and going one-on-one with his defender. When he has to do more than just the normal basic winger play for a counterattacking system, it's not as pretty. And that's why it was so stark when Marcus Rashford came in, that there's just a level to it. There's a difference in terms of talent at the left winger position. And it's why before the season started, I said that I think ultimately Marcus Rashford will probably end up playing the left winger position for United more often. It's just basically down to he's a better, more polished version, an attacking version of what Dorgu is right now, or probably will ever be. Marcus Rashford's just a much better player. And moving forward, if I was to slot a left winger in, it would be Cunha or Rashford. I just don't know if the Dorgu project, especially in these games where you're going to hold 70-odd% of the ball, it just doesn't make any sense. And for me, I thought Carrick got it wrong. Whether it was just Rashford wasn't, ready to play a full 90, or he had the late scratch with Ahmad not being available, where he had to switch up everything and put Cunha in the 9. We'll have to wait and see really where Sesko's availability and going forward where it's at. But for me personally, I would just start Rashford. And that's lesson number 1. Moving on to lesson number 2, fullbacks, awful. Mazraoui in particular, I didn't enjoy any part of his game. I thought going forward he was timid, which is not new for Mazraoui. If he's going to play, he essentially needs to be a third-sided center back. His best version is the one that we saw under Amram when he was playing in the back threes, the right-sided center back. When we've seen him play a nominal right back position, when he has to go forward and back, physically you'd think he'd be all right. I honestly think that he trails the play. In particular, the fullbacks, both him and Shaw, really struggled to get out to the ball. I didn't think they were good going forward. They were just putting in crosses for crosses' sake. It wasn't really going at anybody. It didn't make a lot of sense. I thought their link-up play was not great. They looked slow and lethargic. In particular, Luke Shaw is an athlete. Like, as much as United have obviously targeted the left back position and they will probably get someone over the line, it couldn't have been more apparent in a game like this where United needed just like an athlete, especially at the back post, both on the right and left, that it just wasn't good enough. And Mazraoui in particular, I think I saw a stat recently that, well, obviously since Carrick came in, when Dalot was the starting right back, we won like 13 out of 15 matches with Dalot as the starting right back. And when Mazraoui has played, we've dropped points in every single match that he's started, I think, in the last 4. And I think that just comes down to him just not being a very good right back for what United need, which is, especially if Mbeumo is your right winger, you need someone to overlap him, you need someone to create width. And Mazraoui doesn't really do that. Mazraoui is just a safe, reliable option at right back. He's not someone who's going to give you this attacking force. And in a game where United were chasing for most of the match, the fact that Mazraoui went 80 minutes just, it signaled that it wasn't good enough. And Maybe I'm being a little more harsh on him than Shaw, but Shaw was fucking awful too. The amount of balls that he just put into the box for no reason that just went straight to the goalkeeper couldn't have been more apparent. And even when Sesko came on, they didn't target him at all. I just thought that going forward, the fullbacks were terrible, and you can tell why they're going to go in the market, and whether they spend the gazillion dollars on Hall or if they end up going with like a guy like Balde. It's just an absolute necessity for United. And that's lesson number 2, where fullbacks were bad and we need reinforcements. Lesson number 3, and this is something that everybody has talked about that has watched United through all of preseason, which is crosses and set plays have been really bad for some time, and losing Casemiro is no help in that regard. 2 set plays, 2 goals. That was the only 2 chances that Hull really created that scared me. Not to say that they weren't good or that they didn't create chances. They did, but they all came from crosses. And this is just a bigger problem. This is something that everyone has highlighted and everyone saw and was like, yeah, United are just not handling these set plays well and these crosses well. And it bit us in the ass in the first game. Especially against smaller teams, right? The sides that are going to try to beat you without the ball and just get their moments and take their moments. And United, for a while now, have not been good in those moments. I have a stat in the next segment that I'll talk about that kind of summarizes all of that together. But in general, United need to be better on crosses, and it's something that has to be resolved as soon as the next game. You don't have time to figure it out. I mean, they do have time to figure it out, but they got to figure it out on the fly. And for a team that lost probably their aerial defensive anchor in Casemiro, you got to find players that can step up. And a player that should have stepped up was a guy like Maguire, who in this match had better offensive play than he did defensive. And for somebody who's seen as that aerial defensive beast, right, he should be able to stop these things from happening. He was nowhere near the ball, and if anything, he kept Mazzarri from helping out in a defensive play. And that's the thing that's going to undo United's season pretty quickly, is if they're going to try to keep more of the ball this season, right? And they kept 70 in their first game. You have to be better in those moments. And in particular, teams like Hull or the bottom half teams are going to try to beat you on set plays. It's already been clearly scouted and notified by every other team now. You got to be better in those situations, because if you're playing on those margins and the other team is beating you in those moments, it's going to be a long season. So that's lesson number 3. And lesson number 4 is new season, same shit. New season, same issues. And in particular, I'm going to hone in on the possession numbers and the losing to teams that are in relegation or newly promoted. This is not new. When United hold the ball, they struggle. When they hold large percentage of the ball, they struggle. The 60% stats under Amorim or under Carrick, it just resonates, right? Like when United are told, here's the ball, come and beat us, they haven't been able to beat teams. In particular, I do want to hone us in on those stats against the teams in the bottom half of the league, or the teams that newly got promoted or got relegated from last season. The 5 teams that got either promoted or relegated in that season. So West Ham, Burnley, and Wolves, and then Leeds and Sunderland. In those 10 matches, right, United dropped points in 6 out of 10. Same shit, new season, right? In the first match, in the first test against a team that was newly promoted, United crumbled. And it comes down to the same issues, right? When they are told you have to play the aggressor, you have to go and win the game with possession, United don't have the keys to unlock that. And this is something that Carrick, we were told, is going to have to figure out. And you have to give him grace to figure it out, right? Like, this is the whole point of having an interim manager that turns into a manager, and one that is inexperienced in one with Carrick. But this is something that needed to change. In my expectations video, the one thing that I talked about was United needed to be better against the teams that they should be picking up all 3 points against. Hull, I don't care if it was away or that they had the intensity or that it was their first match back in the Premier League, United should have come away with all 3 points, and it should have been pretty easy. We saw Arsenal take care of business, and when you're a team that is going to be champions, right, or trying to be champions, these are the games that you put away easy. And these are the games that you can build momentum on. And instead, United, similar to last season, put themselves under this unnecessary amount of pressure to perform every single week in games that, like, even in this one, if they had just come away with a 1-0 result, like, it would be a different outlook on the season. But now we're looking at United and going, like, what the fuck happened? We had all this positive momentum, and through a bad preseason game against AC Milan, and then the first game here, at the first hurdle, they tripped themselves up. And that is what happened last season under Amorim. We saw it against the bottom half with Carrick. And again, when you need to be building positive momentum, you can't be dropping points against these teams. And it's the one thing that'll have to change immediately, as in next week against Ipswich. And that bleeds into lesson number 5, which is United need to change, and they need to change quickly. They need to shore up on those 4 things that we learned in the first one. And they won't be able to do it all in one game, but they're going to have to do some of it, right? In particular, the crossing portion, they got to figure out set plays and dealing with all that stuff. And there's no bigger test than Ipswich, right? This is a team, again, that fits that narrative of new or old season, same shit in the new one. They need to be better. And Ipswich is a great test for United to get off the mark again, and kind of right the wrongs of this first game. Look, it's the first game. I'm not trying to get too high or too low. It's obviously fucking deflating. But similar to last season, I don't think United are good enough to win the league. And for this year, I want to see progression, right? So while this is a awful feeling and it was horrendous waking up at 4:30 to watch this, United have a chance to bounce back the next week and try to pick up form from here. And they need to. I would argue this is a must-win game, because if you come out of the first 2 games where everyone thought you were going to pick up 6 points and you come away with 1 or none, fuck me, it gets rough, and it gets rough quick for everyone involved. Similar to how it got rough against Grimsby last season. So you need to right your wrongs as quickly as humanly possible. You need to make changes, the ones that are obvious or not obvious, right? He's the coach, he gets paid to do this. And then we go from there, and we figure it out. But those are the 5 things that I learned from watching Manchester United shit their pants against Hull 2-0. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you saw from the match, if there was anything different, if you're way more negative, you're way more positive. I don't know how you could be more positive, but yeah, let me know. And if you like this content, here at the C.O.C Network, we've got daily content for the Premier League and MLS. So if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe, comment, like, share, and do all the fun stuff that continues to let us make videos like this one. Appreciate you guys for listening. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.